Hi, my name is Shawn Taylor. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. Welcome to Avatar The Last Podcasters and Vodcasters because we have videos. I never liked that word, vodcast. Thanks for joining us today. Last week we reacted live to the most recent Netflix live action trailer. This week, kind of playing in the same ballpark. Gonna play around with a new quiz. It's like a BuzzFeed quiz, but better. Brought to us by Netflix. But Chris, before we do that, how are you? We're not Valentine's Day people, but that's a thing. And Super Bowl is tomorrow if you're catching this on day one, or 2 days out if you're catching the audio on day one.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs! All right, yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. I have
been a
a
it's been a it's been a long year. Even I would say I didn't, probably about 10th game of the year. Whenever they lost to the Broncos and the Raiders within a span of 3 weeks, I
that
was
was
like,
rough.
this isn't our year. Maybe we need some actual receivers, and then Chiefs just figured it out.
Yeah, there was a real rough patch in there where the only people at that point who were not worried are like just a little bit crazy people. Like the admin who is on my team at work, great lady. She has no patience for like she's one of those people. She's like I can't watch because it literally makes my heart race, and I'll have to get a pacemaker, right? And she's like her husband through that whole time, who's like 80 years old and grouchy, and he's just what are you worried about? They're gonna win the Super Bowl anyway. Like even in their 5 game slump or whatever. I'm like that's
Yeah.
not confidence. That's insanity. And yet here we are. Chris, is it insanity? I guess not. I owe him an apology. He doesn't know me. I've never met him, but I'll extend it
Only
through.
people who were still for sure the Chiefs were going to win were that guy and Nick Wright, and
The,
probably people on the Chiefs.
well, the Chiefs got to think that. And conspiracy theorists who are like the script was written, those people believed it this whole time.
Well,
You know,
one thing that pisses me off because for the last whatever month or so, people are like, "Oh, well, the script is written. Just look at the Super Bowl logo. It's predicted the last three in the winners." It was like this year it's the Ravens and the 49ers, with the Ravens winning because they're on the bottom of the logo. It's all in the script. So then once the Chiefs win, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, well, this is the script all along. They wanted Travis Kelsey in." Like, no, you were just saying that the script was the Ravens and the 49ers because it matched the logo.
also, why would the NFL drop hints about its script? Like, why would they do that? That feels like the opposite of a good conspiracy. That's
Why are you into watching something that you think is scripted? And you're not watching for like entertainment value. You're watching because you want your team to win. But if you why do you care
yeah,
if
just
you
go
just
pick up
think
the
your
highlights.
team
Like if it's a
is
script, follow the story, right? Just go grab the highlights later. Pick up the good parts of the story, the
yeah.
narrative that's been written. The conspiracy
I never buy
theorists.
into the I never buy into the weird. Granted, NBA there was a ref that really was rigging
He was
games at a certain point.
was trying his
Um,
best, but he wasn't doing it on the NBA's dime, right? Like he was. What was that guy's name? Don
Duff Dun
Donahue,
Dunphy
Dunphy,
Donahue
Donahue.
Donahue. Yeah.
Right, he was just doing it for his own separated means, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was gambling off of it. Yeah.
And which another thing, man, we gotta let players gamble on not their games. Like that's kind of where I draw the line. Like, okay, if you play for
Oh,
a team, I want you to
hey,
throw your own
what?
games, but we gotta
You cannot let them gamble
we
on it.
right not on their own games, but like, why can't they gamble on the sport in which they play? You know, or like if
I don't.
you gamble on
I
your
think.
own
I
games
mean,
as long as you pick yourself to win.
no.
Like you
No.
can't
You
throw your
can't
own games. You
gamble.
gotta
You
pick your own
can't gamble
team.
on your own games at all, Sean.
But
You
but I think why can't they gamble on other games?
on other games.
Why are kids
I would.
getting in trouble in the
I
state of
would say
Iowa or
probably
whatever?
because. I would say probably because they have a very strong direct influence. Like they might know another player on the team who's like, oh yeah, I
Insider
can do this.
insider
They're
trading.
just they're just too connected. at all.
I felt so bad for all those Iowa kids just for like placing bets on random sports games, like getting kicked off their team or whatever. Oof.
No, I don't know nothing about that.
It was wonky, but anyway, go Chiefs. No conspiracy theories. It is not in any way connecting. Taylor Swift is not connected to the presidential election because of her relationship status with Travis Kelsey. I think they actually like each other. It kind of warms my heart. But yeah, happy Super Bowl weekend slash pre Valentine's Day weekend, which is like two of the most divisive things out
No,
there.
I think only me and you don't really like Valentine's Day.
I
And we,
think
the ironic thing is, we have lives.
we do, and so it's kind of hypocritical. I don't like Valentine's Day because it's dumb, but I do like eating out. Like we still go to dinner, and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Some of it like stupid Valentine's. No, it's an excuse to go eat food that I enjoy, and I do it. So I have to take some accountability for my actions.
Mm.
But we don't listen. I don't. We don't like milk chocolate or Hershey's, right? So that's kind of one. We want dark chocolate, and we don't want it to come in dumb shaped boxes. And Heather doesn't like getting flowers because she deals with flowers literally every day at work, and usually they're depressing flowers, and flowers also die. And so, you know, and greeting cards. We don't really like greeting cards. No offense to our Hallmark friends, because we both have them. But anyway, happy those things if you're into them. Otherwise, happy February. Chris, how has he been? What else is going on before we take this quiz?
Nothing much. Just getting excited for the Netflix show. So
It's around the corner. Essentially, not this coming weekend, but the following one. We will have watched it. That's pretty exciting.
it's kind of surreal. Like I said, I used to stay up at night thinking about how to adapt this live action. Granted, it was in a movie form, but yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I am very like we talked about last time. I haven't thought about it, but like, will it make my loop on its own merits? I don't know.
I'm I'm I am nervous because I feel like I'm playing with house money. Sorry, I'm not nervous because I feel like I'm playing with house money. I don't have huge expectations for it, but we've seen and I think we can interpret that it's got a decent floor to it from
Mm.
trailers and
Yeah,
people we know telling us it's got a decent floor, right? So I feel like at this point I am kind of playing with house money, and so not nervous, just like all right, it's either gonna meet my expectations or beat them. It's probably not gonna go under them.
yeah. Oh, wanted to also mention in this episode we'll cover a few little tidbits and stuff from interviews about the show that's been of high discussion in the Avatar fandom. Kind of some a lot of people not a negative reaction.
You want to do that?
So we
Do you want
can
to do that first or after?
sure, why not?
Do it first. It's
Let me
kind of
do it now.
news like.
Yeah, sure. So, the first thing is that has caused, I think, an overreaction. But I don't want to give away what my opinion is to it. Well, I think I already have. I'm curious to hear yours, Sean. The the actors who play crap. I don't know. Anyway, the actors who play Katara and Sokka sit down for an interview. And they talked about just a couple of changes, and so did Albert Kim, who's the showrunner. They said that they're kind of doing away with the sexism the Sokka displays. Season one, they're like, yeah, that stuff was a little iffy. We're like, yeah, that stuff was outdated. Like 15 years ago, they could get away with it. And so yeah, so Sokka won't be either as sexist or sexist at all. What is your reaction to that?
My gut reaction is that part of part of that was him learning and growing from that sexism, right? It's not like we were
Mhm.
cheering for sexist Sokka
Yeah.
in the beginning of the show. He was supposed to be a d bag, and then he came around and grew and improved. And I'm gonna say 60% upset to miss out on that good character growth, starting from a
Hmm.
dumb place. 40% not horribly concerned because it is a detail, but not like one that gets me too riled
Yeah.
up, and the intentions feel kind of good. So 40% empathy, 60% like, come on, why?
Okay.
Something in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Where
I'm
are you
pretty
at?
much the same. I'm much the same as you are. But Twitter has had like most just negative reactions to it. It's like you guys didn't even. I am paraphrasing a bunch of stuff. Like, did you guys even watch the show? Did you guys even like? We gotta, and I agree with some points. Some people are like, we gotta stop. Like, I forget what someone said. We gotta stop making our characters perfect. Like, Sokka is that way for a reason. He grows out of it. But some people took it far. Like, that's his whole character arc. I'll be like, that's not
So his
his whole
whole he
character.
didn't
If
start out as a
Sokka's
bad guy. He didn't. It's not
yeah,
Zuko.
if Sokka's whole character arc was he was sexist, then he wasn't sexist, that would be terrible writing for one thing. And it would just be two dimensional of a character
Sokka's
arc. His character arc is I think is a lot more deeper uh, than that. But I would say that is still part of it. Like his sexism is probably I would say like 20% of his character arc. And so when you take that away, I'm not like, oh man, that ruins Sokka. Like to me, Sokka's real character arc is like figuring out what it is to be a man. And granted, some of that, like I said, some of that has to do with the sexism of like gender roles and stuff like that. Um, what does it mean to be humble, to allow others to lead who are greater than you, um, and yeah, and humble yourself and find your place. Things like that. Those
so,
I think are more important, significant for Sokka's character arc than he was sexist because he kind of got over his sexism like episode once after he meets Kyoshi Warriors. Like episode, holy crap, he wasn't really sexist for that long. When I think about it,
it was pretty short lived.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're
just like
just.
the Warriors of Kyoshi is episode 3.
I mean, it just is
No,
like
no, it's episode. I'm sorry, it's episode 4. It's episode 4.
it. I mean, it's just kind of not small. It's not insignificant. It's small, but it's not insignificant, right? That's why I'm at the 60,
Yes.
and I said as a 60,
Yep.
right? That's important, but it's not big that he like essentially meets a girl that he likes and quickly learns some valuable lessons because he has like a different level of trust in this girl than he's had in other people. Like, so there's more of a relatable way for him to be like, oh crap, I get it. And it just
Mhm.
it comes and goes
Yeah.
pretty quickly. It's important, but it's not,
Yeah, I do think it's a missed opportunity to show a flawed character with flawed ideas and how
who's
they get
still a
over
good
it.
character. He's blatantly a good character. He's got a
Yes,
flaw.
yes, yes, absolutely. Um, so I'm kind of curious, like how they'll. I'm curious how they'll handle like I don't know certain aspects of Aang. Like 'cause Aang has a few little flaws throughout, but I'm curious they're just like no, we gotta make him perfect. Aang is already kind of too perfect to me in a lot of
He's already pretty close for
aspects.
a kid.
Yeah, such for
So
I
they
often
need
think
to
about
leave.
Katara. I often think about Katara yelling at him of like, there's one point where she's yelling at him about like, you and your infinite wisdom. But
Yeah, we need those kid Aang flaws that he does have, even if they come through in dumb episodes. We need
mhm,
Katara's flaws that feel Katara's like path to hell paved with good intentions, right? Because her flaws, I don't want to say barely feel like flaws, but they seem so good intention, like in the motherly, overly protective way. You know what I
yes,
mean? But we need
yeah.
those for those characters to be meaningful or to go on a meaningful journey, I guess. I,
Speaking of
yeah.
Katara, I think also in an Albert Kimmer interview recently I read, he was saying that they're changing some stuff with also Katara and some of her kind of more gender specific roles. Probably, I mean, there's a scene where she's sewing. They probably won't show that, which that's fine, whatever. But there are certain, I would say, traditional gender roles that Katara exudes, like that motherly protective style, being that person who plans stuff out, who is almost, I wouldn't say overbearing, just on top
She's
of
got an
stuff.
overbearing
Uh,
momness to her.
yeah.
That's
And so I hope we don't miss that because that can be that's key and stuff like that's part of her character. Like she is so protective of Sokka and Aang, and later on Toph. She is protective in a motherly manner, um, but it's not a bad thing.
I'm gonna take the same stance and say that her growing beyond some of those like some of those stereotypes or some of those boxes in the way of combat like later on and like the fight with Master
Yeah,
Pocket
yeah,
you there again
yes,
I'm in that 40 camp of like okay as long as she's not perfect I still need some kind of growth so what flaws are you going to give her but 60% like no that's an important part of her character growing into a more perfect modern great to cheer
mhm,
for female.
yeah. Man, I really hope they keep the sexism and the South out of context. Out of context, the Southworth.
You heard it
I
from a
hope they
black
keep
man
the
first, folks. He says keep it. The black people like
keep,
sexism. No,
keep the sexism in the Northern Water Tribe that Katara completely uh, upends and dismantles.
yes,
Keep that. You
and
can't.
maybe
Don't get rid of that.
don't get rid of that. Don't. Even though they're gonna kind of understand the good intentions behind it. Like you got to see the big picture. The
Yeah,
big picture is the growth through.
the world's not perfect. Like we you got you the the world itself isn't perfect as in the real world,
Good
and
people
art
change
is
into better
often
people.
perfect. Yeah, like I won't say I love, but like I respect the crap out of people who are like, man, I had this ideal, this false ideal before, and I realized that was wrong, and like I realized that I should be better than that. Like no matter what the idea is, whether it's being just light racist or whatever stuff. And I'm like, I respect you so much for that, and I don't even judge you wrongly for that, for judge you for the person you are today, not the person you were before. And I know that you're making whatever men's and you're making strides in those areas. Like on the flip side, I don't like when people are like, no, I'm just gonna keep judging you for that stuff in the past. Like it's so important to well, I'm going off on a rant. It's so important to look yourself in the mirror, whether you look yourself in the mirror, society in the mirror, and realize like we were wrong here, and now we're gonna be right. So many people just want to floss over that and not floss, gloss over that, be like, I don't know what we were doing back then, but whatever. Um, but it's just a matter of taking accountability, and I respect that a lot.
Well, and it's always I think to so without getting into too specifics, I'm a person who came from a small place and that did things in my life that exposed me to different things and different ways of thinking that I would like to think that current Shawn and I can think of
Yeah.
certain examples is better than
Oh,
that Shawn.
definitely me. Yeah.
But like it's not that Shawn was bad like that Shawn was trying to do good things and the journey was long and the process was challenging. Right. And I think it's there's like that element of shame
Yeah.
that you don't like to think about how long and hard that was. Like it seems because now this current Shawn that has these beliefs is like, man, how could you not see that before? And it's a long kind of process, and that's embarrassing to think about. But it's like
Oh gosh,
it's
I'm sorry to
growth.
interrupt you. Make a good point.
No,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's but it's growth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It takes, but
Oh.
the big point is, I don't think that Shawn was a bad person. That Shawn tried to was like trying to do what he thought was right and be a good person, but it got better. I
Yeah.
would like to
And
think.
it didn't take your son dying to be to
It it didn't. It just took maybe multiple real world examples from other people, kind of
yeah.
direct impact in a repeated way. Like it wasn't one big example that was me specifically, or like my son being dead. It was lots of smaller exposures from various sources. So it's less sexy, less narrative like awesome, but that's probably realistic of how it happens. Oh,
Yeah. No, it is. So yeah, so that's one thing to change. The other thing that might not be a big deal somewhat could be a big deal. They mentioned in an interview, Abercam did that Aang Aang will be more directional in season one. Like I think they said like
What does that
early
mean?
on, like because you know Aang is kind of like in season one, they have really no. They're just traveling. Aang is like, oh, I'm gonna go here to ride this. I'm gonna go here. Then we'll visit here. Like Aang's not even halfway through the season. He's not even like, oh, I gotta get to the Northern Water Tribe. He doesn't get that until he meets with Roku,
Okay.
Winter Solstice. And so they mentioned that like I'll read the I have a screenshot of it. I'll just read it, but I'll go off
My
camera for
brain
a
is
little
probably
bit.
already reacting like too strongly to what you're telling me without
Yeah.
even knowing the details.
They said okay. This is Kim, I think. In the first season of the animated series, he's kind of goofing. I'm sorry. He's kind of going from place to place looking for adventures. He even says, first, we got to go ride Elephant Koi. It's a little looser as befits a cartoon. We needed to make sure that he had that drive from the start. And so that's a change that we made. We essentially gave him this vision of what's going to happen. And he says, I have to get to the Northern Water Tribe to stop this from happening. It gives him much more narrative compulsion going forward as opposed to let's make a detour and go ride the Elephant Koi, that type of thing. So that's anyway. So what I gather from that is I don't know. I'm uncertain if Roku will be the one that tells him about Sozin's Comet. Like maybe that doesn't come until later on. Um, but it seems like he has a mission at the start to go to the Northern Water Tribe through whatever means of a vision or something. Um, so we'll see there. But people complains about that is that like, well, Aang's journey is like, yeah, he's a kid, he's a goofball at first, but then he has to realize like, no, I need to take responsibility and stuff. Which that's fine. I'm not that upset about that change. Whatever. I guess I'm just gotta do stuff narrative. There's going to be changes. Some changes we'll like more than others. Some won't be that big of a deal. Maybe that's one that won't be that big of a deal.
This one's probably, if you divide what we've been talking about into like three bullets, this is probably the least important bullet, right? The least impactful, the least important. But I still don't like
Hmm.
it because I do like that like Aang's lack of acceptance or not ready to like have this role kind of forced onto him.
Yeah.
That's there again, it's kind of part of his flaws. Like he's doing these sort of childish things when he should be out there saving the world. But I think this is the least important of the three. So like I'd vote no, but I guess I still just not gonna let that sway my preconceived feelings.
Yeah. They also mentioned that they're changing up the rules of the Avatar state,
Uh oh.
and so that I'm just worried
Uh
about that
oh.
a little bit
That hit
because
a chord right away.
well,
That's weird.
like his which this will be the last thing I cover about the thing so we can get into the Bender quiz. They said what did they say about the Avatar site? Okay, so they said narratively speaking, the Avatar state kind of has somewhat fluid rules in the animated series. One thing I would disagree with
I
that. I
would
think that's
disagree
very
very
hard
strongly.
rule.
It's
To
very
be Avatar.
they're pretty well outlined
Like,
rules.
I think so too. Because one thing, Mike and
The
Bryan are uh,
grounded
very much
in
like
their
yeah, like they're like everything needs to have rules. Like to me, the Avatar state has rules. One thing, Roku
they they
did a whole
invented
freaking
they invented bending as like the creative basis of the story to get away from like ruleless magic. Like what we
yeah.
talked about. I don't like
So
where this is going at all, Chris.
I don't know. I just yeah, I just disagree with his first statement of like the rules being fluid. I think the Avatar state rules
Are
are so
good.
specific.
The limits of the
So
Avatar state's power maybe could
I think
use
that's yeah,
definition.
like that one's that yes, that part probably is for like how much power when is it necessary? To me, I have a good definition of that, but that's because I've read different
you
interviews and stuff from like Bryan about it and stuff, and I can
you're on a
surmise.
different level of human in terms of your what you are able to glean from the show.
Yeah. Um, but the to trigger the Avatar state itself, I think it's pretty. It's like life or death or emotional
Yeah,
damage, depending on your spirituality. And then once you master it, you can
with
then
it.
go into it whenever you
Well,
need
and
to call upon it.
that mastery is so personal, like different avatars with different
Yes.
levels of mastery and
Yeah.
control. That
Oh
makes
my
sense
gosh.
to me. It's not a
I
switch; it's a muscle almost. You know,
Yeah. So it goes on to say, okay, narratively speaking, the Avatar state kind of has somewhat fluid roles in the animated series. And when you take a look really closely at when and how Aang can go into the Avatar state, it changes a little bit throughout. Yeah, it does, but still follows the rules of it. Anyway, that was me chiming in there. So we were very cautious about seeing that too much in the first season, which I get that. And in fact, we ended up tweaking the rules a little bit for our story purposes, and it will be interesting to see whether fans pick up on that and what they think of that. But we kind of streamlined a lot of those rules and came up with something. I worked across on it and came up with something I worked across on it. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't read that wrong. That's how it's read. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm just a little
that's the
iffy
most
on.
annoying thing that you've mentioned of these things. That's the most annoying thing. Oh, okay. I would have been maybe most okay if they like maybe they do tweak the saying tweak the rules sounds too like tweak the expectations. And maybe you hold back a little bit, narratively speaking. You just don't see it as much in
Yeah,
season one
I understand holding
for
back on it.
dramatic buildup. But like this wording suggests that they're just taking some creative liberties with something that I don't think needs creative liberties taken with it. That's annoying.
Yeah,
Whatever. It better not be big. I'll say that. Of the places I
I
do,
hope it's not.
yeah, of the places I'm okay with and even want to see not one to one to make it worth our while, as we've repeated many times. That's not one of them, but we'll see.
Yeah, the thing is, M Night changed the rules of the Avatar state, and it bothered me. It pissed me off so bad because he had Aang mastering it at the end of the film. Yeah,
This is again, I understand that they could have just been like, "Hey, we're gonna try to show a little less of that in season one, make it a little more nebulous for like dramatic tension for new audiences." I would have been probably okay with that. Maybe that's all he's trying to say. I don't know.
no. Granted, you know what? Maybe, with all due respect to Albert Kim, and usually when people say that, they have something mean
And
to say
I
following it up.
love
I don't.
Talladega Nights, and I mean with all due respect. Such a
um, he is clearly a writer and stuff. So maybe he needed to make some changes to make this work narratively in the show. Granted, I disagree with his first assessment. The rules are I at the end of the book one, sure, Aang only went to Avatar State because the fish, the moon spirit, not his moon, the ocean spirit took over his body. But that's anyway. Um,
I just
although Orku,
I
maybe
disagree with his
anyway.
wording, and I hope that the changes reflect more lightly than his wording maybe feels at face
Yeah,
value.
yeah, maybe it's nothing. Anyway,
Maybe it's
those are a
nothing.
couple of little snippets from a recent interview with Albert Cohn.
I
He
wonder if
said
it's
other
going to be
things.
something like he has to be physically harmed instead of just emotionally or some garbage like that.
Nah, I know. I'm pretty sure he'll be because they show a scene of him going to the Avatar. Say that seems like the one when he finds Gyatso's body. So that's a emotionally uh threat to him.
Mm, well, I will try to withhold too much judgment, but I feel entitled to say that I don't like how that sounds. Chris, let's take a
We'll see.
quiz. Let's take a quiz.
Let's do it.
Do you want to introduce this anyhow, or do you just want me to pull it up on screen and start
Sure.
taking it?
No, I'll introduce it and you start pulling up.
It's up.
So we
It's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'll keep talking
yeah, keep going.
then. The Netflix Avatar has did their own quiz, right? Avatar Studios did a what is your element quiz, and that was honestly crap, and I was very disappointed in that. That was like, what's your favorite color? Blue, red, green, or or yellow?
Or transparent.
Yeah, just yeah, that
No
was a
offense,
that was
Avatar. You
a
know
dumb
what?
quiz.
Avatar Studios,
No,
maybe some
full
offense.
offense. Don't release it if it's not
Don't.
good. I
That
was
that is
expecting
perfectly in
not a
line with all other Avatar video games logic to this point.
yeah, we're not. I wasn't expecting like a Myers Briggs type of deal, but at least like a Potter. Anyway, we've had this conversation before.
Yep.
But Netflix Avatar has did their own thing because their tagline is Master Your Element, which is
Lines
uh,
up.
kind of yeah. That you can go and find your element, and I actually like this quiz. Even so, I took this quiz. Full disclosure, took this quiz before. I don't agree with the results, but I still like taking the quiz. You know what? That's a pretty good quiz. If
Mm,
I don't like the results, but I was like, oh, you know what? That's kind of fun though.
It was an engaging piece of marketing, which is what it's supposed to do for you. I have not taken this quiz, just like last week. I'm going in blind. And
Yeah.
Chris, if you're ready, I'm going to start. I'm on the front screen here. Discover your nation. Gonna click it.
So we're gonna take turns taking the quiz, right?
Yeah. Do you want to go first? And
Okay.
I can.
No, you go
I'll
first.
go
You
first.
go first.
You wake up. See, I already like this. It's giving me like a scenario. This neat.
Yeah.
It's instantly cool.
Yeah.
You
It
wake
is.
up
I
on a.
like it.
I do, and the background and stuff is cool. It's animated, which people can see on screen. You wake up on a boat next to a haul of flopping fish. You can't remember your
I'm on
name
a
or
boat. What?
on. You
That's what I
are.
do when I wake up. I'm on a boat.
And I look for T-Pain.
I'm on a boat, motherfucker. Take a look at me.
You can't remember your name or what nation you came from. The captain is kind and offers to help you find your home. Choose one, wherever they're going. Ask to be dropped off right away. This is all very confusing. You're not sure what to do. Chris, I'm a creature who does not like to inconvenience other people. I'm going to say and I don't
Mhm.
know anything. Logically, I have
Yeah.
no starting point. I'm going to go wherever they're
Uh-huh.
going. That's as good as anything could be. Go where they're going. Okay. We're headed to Kangaroo Island, he says. If you want to help finding your nation, you can visit the fortune teller up the hill. Cool. Look, the animation's cool back there, too. That's awesome. Upon arriving to the docks, your stomach growls. Fortunately, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but how will you catch one? You see a sharp stick on the ground or a net that belongs to a nearby fisherman. Use the sharp stick. Steal the net. Use your hands. Forage for kelp instead. I would try the stick. I'm not saying I would be successful, but it's there. It isn't theft, and it's not my hands. I'm not sticking my hands in that. That's ridiculous. And I hate seaweed, so I'm not foraging for kelp. You caught a tasty fish, raw but tasty. That's not tasty. That's gross. Cool animations. This reminds me of the animations like the seventh Harry Potter movie where they have
Oh, you're right,
the
Sean. Yeah, when they go through the Deathly Hollows.
yeah, that's what it makes me feel like. You
Yeah.
weave a path through the bustling market, but find your path blocked by a man with a cabbage cart. Find another way. Tell him to move. You're in a hurry. Offer to help the merchant move his cart. I'm going to offer to help because it's benefiting me as well. Maybe helpful. I'm going to offer to help him. He accepts your help, and afterwards, you find yourself at a beautiful waterfront with perfectly flat rocks for skipping. Choose one. Grab a rock and throw it. Continue on your journey. I'm not really an aesthetics guy. I'm going to look at the water and be like, that's nice. And then I'm going to go on my way. I'm not going to throw a rock. I'm just going to go.
I
As you
used to
can,
love skipping rocks in the creek. That was fun. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
I just never was a rock skipper. As you continue on your journeys and kids yell at you to get your attention, they're throwing around a boomerang and ask if you would like to try. I would stop and I would try to throw a boomerang for children's amusement. It's either really good and they're in awe, or it's really bad and they get a laugh out of it. That's fine. This is fun. You're not a powerful bender. You could always get good at a boomerang. Yeah, fair enough. You complete your journey to the fortune teller's front door and you hear a woman humming a tune inside. Do you knock on the door? Do you walk in? Do you recognize the tune and sing along with her? I'm going to knock on the door because that feels like the polite thing to do. Before he can even knock, you hear a raspy voice say, "Come in." Ooh, impressive. Upon enter, okay, it just cut away too fast. There was some more stuff there. The fortune teller asks you to
Mhm.
sit and meditate on the steam rising from the teapot over the fire. While you're focusing, she accidentally drops a few of her peeled potatoes. Do I stop meditating and help her pick up the potatoes? Do I follow her directions and meditate? Meditation is hard, you watch the fire instead. Um this is this is the hardest question yet. If I felt that it was an accident, and it does say accidentally, I would offer to help her pick up the potatoes, but I want everybody to know that I'm a pyromaniac and I love watching fire. So the third option was very tempting. I rush to pick up the potatoes. How can I
Did you
meditate? I
play with
don't realize.
matches growing up, Sean?
No, but like we had to burn fields and things like that. So like I got
Oh,
the
okay,
itch
okay.
scratched in
Ah,
ways with
good.
grown-ups. I
I used to
do.
burn matches. It through.
Yeah,
My
but
dad called me one time and whooped me. Rightfully so. One of the whoopings I ever
yeah,
get.
because fire. I mean, you set the whole house on fire, maybe.
Yeah.
No, to this day, I'm a little bit of a pyromaniac. Not in like the fireworks sense, but like I love big bonfires and crap. Fortune
Oh
teller
yeah.
sits with you and says, "I can tell desperately you want to know which nation you belong to, but I want to ask, what will you do when you leave? When you have your answer? And do I want to explore the world? Do I want to return home? Do I need more information before I make a decision?" I need more information. I can't really do much. This is just step one of the information journey. Always good to know where we came from, but remember, if you're always looking back, you can't see what's in front of you. Cool. She says, she serves me the tea and asks me to drink. Takes the cup, gazes into it. I see it's quite obvious. I cannot tell you your name, but I can tell you your nation. I click continue. It is. We showed a picture of Aang. So, yeah, I'm an air nomad, which
Oh, okay.
feels like you. That feels wrong. Free spirited, because if that does feel wrong, because I'm not terribly
Yeah.
free spirited or spontaneity. Like I'm not spontaneous or free spirited. I am pretty pacifistic and I am kind, but the other two don't fit. That's weird.
What were the descriptions again?
Actively seek to improve the lives of others. Like, okay. You're also free spirited, a pacifist, and spontaneous. I do not consider myself terribly free spirited or spontaneous, and I feel like my answers reflected that. I don't know. Sometimes
Yeah.
you allow others to take advantage of your kindness. Yeah, to a degree. Okay. Yeah, like you, that's not what I expected, and I would dissent with the results to some degree. Because that felt like a quiz with like multiple paths. It didn't feel like a static quiz. It felt like if I had chosen a
Yeah.
different answer on the boat that I don't know if it's true or not, it feels like I would have gotten an
No,
entirely different slate of questions.
I think it is different. I watched someone else do it. Might have been. I went down a fairly similar path, but I ended up with. But I'll retake the quiz here in a minute. Um, I ended up with water before, but I was like, water. But there was stuff about airbending that you just described. Because granted, you can't put people into four different boxes.
Yeah, that's
That's
ridiculous to think that
which is why
every
I did the Myers.
Earthbender is the same person.
Yeah, which is why the Myers Briggs thing is really cool because I do think because that's like what 20 or so. That's pretty good. And then
Well,
when
and
I read that, I was like,
it's assigning you traits and they're not in any way related to just like where you're from, right? It's like putting people into,
yeah,
pre-Korra bending boxes and even post-Korra, like there's no correlation between your bending type and your personality in a nutshell, is there?
nah, yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, slightly, but anyway,
But there doesn't have to be. It's not a necessity. It does not necessitate.
true. Yeah, Bolin is an Earthbender, but he is,
He's a clown, right? The
yeah,
top is the exact opposite. So there are, there's like seeds of truth, but it's not a necessity. It's
yeah.
just a,
And Korra is
a
more
commonality.
natural waterbender. She's more fiery than which is
Um,
probably why she uses fire a lot.
yeah. Chris, I saw a thing the other day that's like when you're trying to explain correlation does not equal causation, show them this
Hmm.
chart, and it was like number of people who died by drowning in pools and it was relative to number of Nicolas Cage movies released that year, and it was like a very similar like pattern. the first
That's funny.
and the first comment was like, "Are you sure?" It was amazing.
I think it's
I was like, "You're right. That might not be a great example."
the thing is, anytime someone tries to tie two things together, I'm like, no, there's a correlation there, but there's no causation there. But
It's
statistics,
not to say
people,
that there can't be some causation somewhere, but just putting the two things together
yeah,
is not it.
yeah.
The
All right.
first when I read that comment, it took me a minute to get. It's like, what does he mean? Are you sure? And I was like, oh yeah, it's Nick Cage. My bad. All right, Chris, I'll answer the questions on screen as you tell me the answers to the questions.
Okay. Starting over, and like I said, I took this quiz before, and so my answers might be a little. I'm not trying to answer the purpose to get air nomad, even though that's what I identify as. And Shawn, you identify as Earth, right?
I do. Here's what it is,
Yeah,
Chris. I want to be an Earthbender for the practical reasons, but I don't necessarily share a lot of like I'm closer to Bolin than I am to Toph.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, like, yeah,
I identify as an Earthbender.
yeah. I'm sure if I chose the seaweed thing, that's more of an air nomad thing. But no, I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
that's
Identifying as
gross.
seaweed.
Yeah. All right, Chris, hit me with your answers.
Well, I need to hit with the question.
Oh, do you want me to just read it to you? I can do that. You
Oh
wake up
yeah, sure, yeah. Go ahead and read some. Yeah.
You wake up on a boat next to a haul of flopping fish. You can't remember your name or what nation you come from. The captain is kind and offers to help you find your home. Do you go wherever they're going? Ask to be dropped off right away. This is all very confusing. You're not sure what to do.
Hmm. The first time I wrote to go with them, but that was like a very gut. I took the quiz pretty fast. I think I'm gonna go with they're not sure what to do.
I think that's a reasonable response. I can see that you're confused. Do you know about the four nations? He asks you. And then the question is, there's the Water Tribe. They live in tight knit communities at the North and South Poles, depend on the ocean and on each other. There's the Earth Kingdom. Their vast land is full of variety cities, farms, deserts, mountains, all populated with honest, hardworking people. Fire Nation is on a group of islands. They lead the world in economic strength and technology. And finally, there are air nomads. Sadly, they were mostly wiped out by the Fire Nation, but there are rumors that a few still wander about the world. That text goes really fast. You
Oh
think
yeah,
that.
that's a weird thing. Anyway, I wonder is that a this room like that's I don't know, that's a weird little
a,
input
a
in
little
there.
quip. I feel like it's
Yeah,
hinting at Aang. I feel like it's in the
probably.
time frame of the
Okay.
show. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you thank the captain for the information, but still don't know which nation you belong to. Do you go wherever they're going, or ask to be dropped off right away? So that first question
But
may not have
they
been
they
pertinent.
circled back to the question.
Yeah, that one might be
I'm just
valueless.
they s- they seem nice enough to help me out, and so I'll go with them.
Yeah, I don't want to inconvenience him. We're headed to Kangaroo Island, he says. If you want help finding your nation, you can visit the fortune teller atop the hill. That text goes real fast.
Yeah.
Upon arriving at the docks, your stomach growls. Fortunately, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but how will you catch one? You see a sharp stick on the ground or a net that belongs to a nearby fisherman. Do you use the sharp stick, steal the net, use your hands, forage for kelp instead?
Uh, the most logical answer here, and I think the most good person answer is use a stick. That's what I chose before. I'll choose again 'cause I don't want to steal from somebody. That's not nice.
Chris, that
They might
language
need
is
that for
so
their
tough
livelihood.
because what Shawn would actually do, I'd use the net and I'd look for somebody to ask. There's nobody here. If somebody comes here looking for a net, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, I hope you don't mind. I borrowed your net," and I'm gonna
True.
immediately give it back to him because I'm not stealing it, but I want the net. So it's very frustrating that I don't get to pick that
True.
answer.
Wait, how did they word it as steal the net?
They just say steal the net. It's like that's no.
Yeah, that's a weird word. Yeah.
Can I just pick up the net and
Um,
use it until I see its owner and be like, "Hey, I hope you don't
I
mind."
would. if I'm going in the space of a stick or a net, it's a net
I'm
because I
using
can
a net. Yeah,
extend.
I'm not gonna learn how to Tom
Yeah,
Hanks a fish,
let's
but
go with net. Yeah, let's
it
go with
does say
net.
steal the net. I want to make that clear.
It does say that,
But you would give it back,
but
Chris. I know you would. Too
yeah,
late.
just
I
borrowing
clicked
the
it.
net.
Yep,
Yeah.
you stole it. You. Oh, for God's sake. Congratulations, you caught a fish. You slyly returned the net to its owner. That's what it said, Chris. That's bullshit. It didn't tell us that.
That is some BS.
You, after all the nice things we said, you weave a path through the bustling market, but find your path blocked by a man with a cabbage cart. Do you find another way? Do you tell him to move you're in a hurry? Do you offer to help the merchant move his cart?
Uh, I don't know if it's really stuck there, or well, he says it's stuck there, right?
You find your path blocked by a man with a cabbage cart. Doesn't even
Oh,
imply that he doesn't mean to be there.
yeah. No, I just move another. I just move another way. I'm not gonna be like, let me help you move this cart that you're not even that
It's like, why?
that you want there. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm here to block the exit. You wander through the market,
Uh,
find yourself at a beautiful waterfront with perfectly flat rocks for skipping. Do you grab a rock and throw it, or do you continue on your journey?
I'm gonna keep my answer from last time. I throw
S-
the rock. I
Skip
just
that
love
rock.
skipping rocks in the creek.
That's good. That's one of life's simple joys. The rocks are there for the taking. Oh, I touch and hold to grab a rock. Flick
Yeah,
to
you gotta.
launch. What? Oh, that was interesting. Okay, I threw the rock. Nice. That's cute. As you continue your journey, some kids yell to get your attention. They are throwing around a boomerang and ask if you'd like to try. Do you stop and throw the boomerang? Do you tell them you don't have time, or do you ignore them?
I mean, I'm not in a rush here. I'm
Yeah,
gonna throw the boomerang.
where do you got to be?
Yeah,
That rock question's frustrating too because that's like if I don't pick up a rock, am I not an earthbender? Like what the hell? I just
that's
don't.
true.
You complete your journey to the fortune teller's front door and you hear a woman humming a tune inside. Do you knock on the door, walk in, or you recognize the tune, sing along with her?
I love singing to myself, but keyword on myself. I don't do a lot of singing. Knock on the door.
I think if somebody walks up to my door singing, that's a psychopath. Before you
That
knock,
is
you
a
hear,
psychopath.
you hear a raspy voice say, "Come in." You walk in, she says, feeling lost. The fortune teller asks you to sit and meditate on the steam rising from the teapot over the fire. While you're focusing, she accidentally drops a few of her peeled potatoes. Do you stop meditating and help her pick up the potatoes? Do you follow her directions and meditate? Meditation is hard. You watch the fire instead.
Um, I think last time I said I'll help her, but if she was very, I think I might have missed if she was very direct on you meditate. Also, how many petals is it? Because if it's not that, it's not a lot, then I'm just seem like I'm
Just a
inconveniencing
few
her.
of her peeled potatoes. It does say accidentally.
Uh,
I took that as key, but it says a few. So, three.
this I'm gonna just say I'm gonna keep meditating. Meditating not that hard for me. I tend to fall asleep when I meditate though.
That's that's what meditation's really for. Okay. You meditate on the steam. Oh, I gotta interact again. Chris, touch and drag to influence the flow. I'm interacting with steam.
Good.
Interesting. It's kind of strange. It's not as exciting as the rock, but I get it. Okay. She she tells you she sits with you and says, "I can tell you desperately want to know which nation you belong to, but I want to ask, what will you do when you have your answer? You want to explore the world, you want to return home. You need more information before you make a decision."
It's interesting. I put return home before, and I think once I know where I'm from, I'm going back home because that's where I'm gonna get more answers. And also, if someone's concerned about me, I can find them there. I don't want them to worry. So
That feels
return home.
feels highly logical. Okay, return home. You tell her to get back to your people as soon as possible. There might be someone at home waiting for you. Oh, that's nice. You don't know.
Yes.
She serves you the tea and asks you to drink. Afterwards, she takes the cup and gazes into it and says, I see. It's quite obvious. I cannot tell you your name, but I can tell you your nation. I click continue, and something happens.
And
And you got to guess?
it'll probably still be water.
You're an air nomad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it really, yeah. When seeking a balance of give and take, you err on the side of giving because it brings you joy. You're also community minded, peaceful, and resilient. Your generosity can make you a target for slackers and crooks. I feel like
So you got
my
Air Nomad, but yours was different.
mine was a different text for air nomad, but kind of
Yeah.
getting to the same place. Yeah,
No,
interesting.
but that's interesting. Different tests for different types of Air Nomads. But I
What
agree
kind of
with most of what that description was.
but what kind of jerk do you have to be an earthbender? You know what I mean?
I know, right? Can play with this all day to try to figure out.
I just
Definitely
listen.
throw a rock.
It is nice to think about like the Harry Potter. One of the good things about the Sorting Hat is that like you're defined by your choices, right? So it's like, yeah, I would
Yeah.
choose this even if my personality aligns. I choose it because I think it is the best thing for me, whether or not it plays to my best existing strengths or whatever. So that's kind of the difference between choosing a house and something that you're born into. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know what lesson I'm trying to get at there. Just a fun difference. Anyway, well, that was fun. That was a good quiz. It was engaging. We took it twice,
Yeah.
and seeing your answers, if anything, just made me want to take it like one more time. Like, what do I got to do?
Yeah. Props to them for making a good quiz.
It's good marketing. And I like how they included a little video clip of Aang there at the end. I assume that would be a
Mm.
different character.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm. It's accessible. It looks like you can have it read to you if you are if you
Ooh, I
need
wonder
that.
if the voice is it's not like a computer voice, but more like a I don't
Like
know.
a narrator, like telling a story.
Yeah.
Chris, final thoughts on
Um,
news or quizzes
this
or
makes me more
football.
disappointed that Avatar Studios didn't do a good quiz.
Mm,
Like, come
same,
on, guys. Like,
same. Although this
so
this whole thing has
I'm
very
rooting for you
Netflix
guys.
vibes to it.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
this whole thing,
Also, I guess I gotta remember that Netflix has money to blow. I
whereas
don't know.
Avatar Studios has yet to have an income, have yet
Yes,
to
it's been
generate
all expense.
it. 100% non-revenue so far for Avatar Studios. Well, I think that's enough for us. My voice is on the verge of cracking up here, so we'll say our goodbyes. My name is Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Thanks for hanging out while we took a quiz. Any likes, comments, subs, thumbs ups, anything like that you can spare us, we greatly appreciate that
I
interaction.
dare you to review us.
He
Double dog
double dog
dare you.
dares you,
I
100%.
bet you won't
Double
before
dog dares you to
sunset.
leave us 5 stars. And I don't know if they're gonna come back and be like, "Ha!" I don't. That's their whole review is gotcha. And
With the one star.
that'd be
Don't
amazing.
don't ever try to dare me again.
Don't you'll be sorry you tried to dare me.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. No music going through your brain or anything like that, right?
Well,